Hey tribe, welcome back to another episode of Soul Chat Saturdays. You are listening to the Soul Uninhibited podcast. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm your host, Mawaya, and cheers, we are glad to have you. So today I want to talk about damned if you do, damned if you don't. So, I want to tell y'all a little story. I was walking down the street, minding my own business, taking a walk, finally getting some air, and I came upon somebody I have seen before, but I don't really know. And part of me wanted to, say, hey, be open, be friendly, say, hey, maybe even ask if I knew them. And then another part of me was like, no, don't say anything. Just smile and keep walking. So I decided to do the former, decided to say hey and kind of be open and speak. And y'all, this person had no idea who I was. Or maybe have never seen me before. And I don't know why I thought I've seen them before. I'm pretty sure I've seen them before, but maybe it's one of those familiar faces or whatnot. And that's when the thought occurred to me. It was like, AJ could have been closed down and not said anything, and the situation still would have been somewhat the same. The outcome still the same. Neither lives changed at all, just going about your day. And so that made me think about, well, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because the only thing that mattered in that moment was what me honoring my internal guidance system, me honoring what I wanted to do in that moment. That was the only crux. That was the only thing that mattered. The outcome didn't matter. The outcome didn't change really. But how I felt about it changed. And, this is such a small example, but I thought it was a good one because it clearly showed to me in that moment, or when I had a time to think about it afterwards, was that you can literally do whatever you want. There is no rules to this life. There are social rules that we have created as being responsible species on this planet, of social rules between each other and between the planet, between the animals and things like that. But really, these are, again, rules that are made up. There's no such thing as concrete rules when it comes to anything on this planet, besides gravity and all that stuff. Okay, so we're not talking about that for the smart asses out there. But yeah, so there are no rules, and you might as well do what feels true to you. You might as well do what feels good to you. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So let's talk about what that phrase means, right? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So when people say this, usually what they're talking about is either way, either direction that you decide to act, somebody's not going to like it. Somebody's not going to appreciate you. Somebody's not going to see you for who you are. Somebody's going to be offended by you. Somebody is going to not vibe with what you're putting out. So damned if you do. Damned if you don't, somebody's going to be angry about that. Why didn't you speak up? Why didn't you say this? Why didn't you, do this? And you still can't do right. So you might as well do what you feel is true to you. that is really the only true damnation in the whole equation. Because yes, you can be damned by people who are just looking on, listening on, tuning into your life, having opinions about things. You can be damned by them. But the real damnation comes from yourself and the regret that you may have for not doing something, or the regret for doing something, or the regret for allowing other people's opinions to dictate your actions, or to dictate your inaction. The true damnation lives with you, because you have to live with that thought, that awareness, that scenario going forward. So you might as well do what feels good to you. So let's take this a step further, and let's go into regret and shame and wishing, shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Let's talk about that. So we've all been there, right? We've all been there where we have done things that we, like in hindsight, we could have done differently. We should have done differently. We would have done differently had we known better. So you're living with the damnation, knowing that you should have done something differently. Now, how do we heal this? How do we heal the things that we didn't do, or the things that we did do, and they weren't in alignment with what we should have done and could have done and would have done had we known better? Well, the first step in anything, like I always say on this podcast, I always say on this channel, awareness and acceptance. Awareness of what you truly wanted and what you would do differently in the future, and acceptance that you didn't do it in the past, and that you probably made the best decision that you could have made. Now, of course, I got to make space for other people for almost everything. So maybe you did something that you knew that you wasn't the right thing to do. So you knew that you weren't making the best decision. You knew you weren't making the most loving decision. You knew you were acting out of ego. You knew that you were going to hurt somebody or hurt something or hurt yourself. Then you have to be patient with yourself and start to do some self-inquiry as to, why did I make that decision? Why did I do that? What was I seeking? What void was I trying to fill? Was I hurting? What was going on around that time? What was I trying to protect? So that you can actually get some clarity on yourself, so that you can again make space and have acceptance of what has happened, and so that you can move on to making better decisions in the future. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. This also goes into other people's opinions and why they don't matter. I think I may have done an episode on this. I think it was called "It's Not You, It's Them," or something like that. It's not about you, it's about them. And this is really focusing on other people's opinions and why you shouldn't give a fuck. People's opinions are a culmination of their own personal experiences, the knowledge that they have attained, the experiences that gave them wisdom, the things that they have experienced, and the things that they haven't, which is a very important point. Their opinions are full of things that they have experienced and things that they have not experienced. So it, by definition, cannot be a measure of you, because your story is not the same as someone else's story. Y'all could be going through the same situation currently, but what led y'all up to that position and what led y'all to make certain decisions in that current situation are completely different. So yeah, somebody could say, well, I wouldn't do this if I were you, or or judge you about it. Had they lived your exact same life, they probably would have made the exact same decisions. Because how could they made a different decision being you? You can't control their experiences and the opinions that they form. And they should not be trying to control you based on their experiences and the opinions that they have formed. And vice versa. You cannot control anybody else based on your opinions, because it is the culmination of you and your experiences. So the only thing that you can do is live by your own personal convictions based on what you know and what you've experienced and what you have not experienced. So damned if you do or damned if you don't. Live your life the way that it is supposed to be for you. You cannot force something that isn't true for you. You can try, but it's very short-lived. I always think about the blockchain in cryptocurrency, and I'm by no means a cryptocurrency expert, but when I was learning about it, and when they were talking about the blockchain and how that's really important for security and not double spending and all that stuff, basically what happens is the blockchain is recording all of the interactions, all of the transactions on different coins, and they're shared between different servers, and so they're being validated, and it's not centralized. So as soon as somebody tries to basically fake the funk and try to double spin a coin or try to create a fake coin, eventually that fake coin that fake transaction can only go so far, because it can only mimic the authentic blockchain up into a certain point. And once it can no longer, once the algorithm can no longer create the same number sequences for transactions and stuff, it's gonna be flagged as this is a fake short version of blockchain. And so that's the same thing with us. Your authenticity will take you the furthest. Anything else is going to be short-lived in your life. So if you notice, that's why they say watch people's actions. That's why they say, let people show you who they are, because the things that are really true for them are going to be the things that outlast what they say and what they pretend to be and what they try to be. So just watch somebody, because that fake blockchain is gonna die out. So I say this to say, damned if you do, damned if you don't, because your authenticity is going to come through, whatever that is. And this is not a life sentence, basically. This is because you can always change who you are. And you can always get new convictions. You can start new habits. You can have new values and change your moral compass to accommodate more, if you want to add more love into your world. Or it can be on the opposite, creating bad habits, creating, a less loving moral compass, so we can always change. So this is not like I said, life sentence status here. This is whatever is true for you and you have the conviction for is what's going to stand out. So you might as well act on that instead of being worried about what other people think about you. Do what you need to do. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So just do it. People are always going to have something to say. They're always going to have judgments. They're always going to, they're going to gossip about you. They're going to do the things that hurt you because of some preconceived judgment about you, who you are, what you're capable of, what you represent to them, who you remind them of. The list goes on as to what could trigger somebody to judge you and to have a certain opinion about you. So your work is to breathe. First and foremost, I will always say breathe. Just to relax your nervous system. Then accept that and let that die there. Don't carry that with you. Don't carry the weight of other people's opinions and what they may or may not say about you, what they may or may not do in opposition to you. Because that is not even authentic to them. That energy will die out as well. Because their true motivations will be things that they don't like about themselves. things that they are hurting in themselves. They will find a new person to come down on and be negative towards, as long as you don't feed the fire and fuel them, essentially. So do what you need to do and feel good in that choice. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. As long as you're acting in accordance to your own internal guidance system, then you are doing a great job. You're doing a great job, and you won't have those regrets. You may be making a mistake, but you may be learning a lesson. But you did the best thing that you could do in that moment, because that was what was true to you at that moment. So release yourself from the weight of other people. Release yourself from the weight of not trusting yourself. Do what feels right now. Taking all, the things that you know about the situation into account as you know it to be true right now. Taking all that into account, make the decision based on where you are right now. And that's going to at least lead you to the next step. That's going to lead you to the next arena. It's going to lead you to something closer to who you are and what resonates much more with you than not. So, all right, y'all, that is my message for today. Do you, boo-boo. Live your life. And F the rest. All right. So thank you so much, y'all, for tuning in for this another episode of Soul Chat Saturdays. If you want to connect with me, you can. You can email me at tribe@mawayatribe.com. If you have a question, or if you want me to speak on something, or if you just want to let me know how your healing journey, how your empowerment journey is going. You can find me on Instagram at Mawaya Tribe, and you can find me on YouTube at Mawaya Tribe. Mawaya is spelled Mywya, and it stands for Meet You Where You Are. And I love y'all so much, and I will see y'all in the next episode. Happy journeying.